Alright, so now what we're going to talk about in this video is linear functions. And we're going to start by talking about the standard form for linear functions. The standard form for linear functions is ax plus by equals c. Now there's a few things to know about this. First of all, a, b, and c have to be integers, which means no fractions or decimals. The a value has to be positive. And then finally, the GCF, the greatest common factor of a, b, and c, needs to be 1. So for example, if they're all divisible by 2, you have to divide them all by 2. Alright, so take a look at this problem here. 9x plus 6y minus 24 equals 0. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to put the x and y by itself, so I need to move the 24 over to the other side. That gives me 9x plus 6y equals 24. But I'm not quite done. I'm not quite done because all of these numbers are divisible by 3, so I have to divide everything by 3, which gives me 3x plus 2y equals 8. So they're all integers, x and y, x is positive, reduced. This is standard form for the problem. Let's look at another one. Let's take, let's see, negative 1/3 y, and let me switch colors, that's kind of faint. Let's say I have negative 1/3 y equals 1 plus 3/4 x. Well, I want the x and the y to be on the same side. The very first thing I'm going to do is I am going to subtract 3/4 x from both sides. This gives me negative 3/4 x minus 1/3 y equals 1. But now I've got two problems. First problem, I've got fractions. Second problem, my x is negative. Now, to get rid of a fraction, what you have to do is you have to multiply by the least common denominator, which is the smallest number that is divisible by both 4 and by 3 in this case. And the smallest number I can think of that is divisible by 4 and by 3 is 12. So what I basically do is I multiply everything by 12. But before I do that, one more thing. In order to make this positive, because I do need the x1 to be positive, I need to multiply by a negative 12. So multiply everything by negative 12 instead of positive 12, and we'll be finished with the whole problem. So 12 times 3 is 36, divided by 4 is 9, so I get 9x. Right here I get positive, because negative times negative is positive, and 12 divided by 3 is 4y equals negative 12. So now that I'm looking, they're all integers, my x is positive, and there is no GCF other than 1. The only thing that all three divisible by is 1. So therefore, we are done, and this is standard form. Okay. Now another form is slope-intercept form. Another way to write linear equations is slope-intercept form. And it might be familiar to you. It's y equals mx plus b. Now m is your slope, and b is your y-intercept. Now, a couple of things about slope. Remember, the formula for slope is your change in y over change in x. So subtract your y's and subtract your x's to get slope. The other thing is the types of slope. There's a positive slope, which slants this way. A negative slope slants that way. A zero slope is a flat line. And undefined is a vertical line. And if it helps you remember, I'm going to show you slope face. Alright, so positive, negative, undefined, and zero. Slope face. Kind of looks a little bit sad, but it's a useful tool to remember. So those are the 4 types of slope you might see with this type of equation. Now you can also use the slope-intercept form when you go to graph something. So let me flip over my paper and to the graph side. And let's take a look at an example. So let's say I had y equals 2x minus 3. Okay. You start with your intercept, which is negative 3. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3. And then my slope, remember, is rise over run. So 2 over 1 means I go up 2 and over 1. Positive slope, remember, slants up and to the right. And you can do multiple points if you choose, but that is how you graph the line. Now, if it is not in slope-intercept form, you have to make it be in slope-intercept form. So let's take x plus 3y equals negative 15. I'm going to subtract x from both sides to get 3y equals negative x minus 15, and then divide everything by 3. This gives me y equals negative 1/3 x minus 5. So I go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my slope is negative 1/3. Remember, negatives slant down and to the right, so it's going to go this way. So negative 1/3. From the intercept, I can go up 1 and left 3, or I can go down 1 and right 3. But when I connect the dots, and it's probably a good idea to use a straight edge. I'm not very good at drawing straight lines here. But when you connect the dots, you get your line. Now, there's also flat lines, which have a slope of 0. Flat lines will always take the form of y equals some number. So for example, if I had y equals 1, that is going to be a flat line at positive 1. On the other hand, if I had x equals 1, that'd be a vertical line at positive 1. And I'm really not good at drawing straight lines. Oh well. Alright. So I'm going to stop here, and in the next video I'm going to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines, as well as how to find x and y intercepts algebraically.